Just said a smuggler offered a huge cache of deadly cesium, enough to contaminate several city blocks, and specifically seeking a buyer from the Islamic self-proclaimed state group. Fox News Middle East and terrorism analyst Walid Phares is with me now. Walid, criminal organizations, as Ashley just reminding us, these ties to the Russian KGB, which is now the FSB, basically thriving in this black market for nuclear materials. How long before some of this shows up in a bomb that's set off to hurt American troops or innocents?
That could be the biggest question of the decade, because that is the biggest hole in security concerns since the collapse of the Soviet Union. These are weapons that have been used or stored by the Soviet Union before it collapses, and many republics, not just Russia, many in Central Asia, Ukraine, parts of Belarus. There are many sources for that. But the second component is corruption. A lot of corruption out there that needs cash. And third, who has cash among many players in the Middle East? ISIS has billions of dollars. So the marriage between those three is explosive.
So let me ask you this, Walid, which I'm hoping you're going to give me one particular answer. How stable, unstable are these compounds? Do you need any kind of expertise to use this old nuclear material for harm?
Depending who's going to use it for what purpose. ISIS is not equipping thermonuclear ICBMs, so they don't need the launching pads, they don't need that much scientific community to help them. What they need it for is to deliver a small tactical charge of any kind of weapons of mass destruction, from the nuclear to the chemical to the biological, for the purpose of deterrence. So they have demonstrated in the past that they do have some people with scientific knowledge. So the threat is actually real.
Okay, so the threat is real. What can the U.S. do at this point? I mean, it seems, as we are hearing from our sources, there was an information network that the FBI was able to tack and then obviously catch these people. But that's this round. What do we need to do going forward?
We can't be successful at every single round. Our law enforcement and the FBI have demonstrated that they have been successful so much and with so little. But the real problem is, first, in the Middle East, you have ISIS up and running and having a lot of cash. But the second hole, basically, is how can we partner with the Russians? Because the material is in former Soviet Union areas. So we need to have a partnership with the Russians, making sure that that material is not going to get to ISIS. And at this point in time, as you said in the introduction, we're not at our best relationship with Russia today because of Syria.
Yeah, exactly, which is a worrying point. On the larger nuclear theme, fewer than 3 months after this nuclear framework established between Iran and 6 world powers, the supreme leader saying no more talks with the U.S. I'm going to quote him here. There is reason for our objection to negotiations with the U.S. U.S. engagement in talks with Iran means infiltration. They want to pave the way to impose themselves. So, Walid, whose words count more, the religious supreme leader or the Iranian president, Rouhani, who, just to remind everybody, was actually for that nuclear framework?
In my view and experience in monitoring the Iranian regime for the last 3 decades, I think it's one person at the top who has two types of narratives. It's the same person. The guide, the Ayatollah, tells Rouhani, go ahead, do the negotiations for the simple purpose of what? Of getting all these billions of dollars. He wants them. He wants $150 billion to improve his weaponry system. On the other hand, he goes on radio and on TV to calm down the radical elements within the Islamic Republic and tells them, we're not going to be talking with the United States. In fact, he has two faces.
So essentially it is, I hear what you're saying, there is essentially a policy hand and then a PR hand.
Of course, and the combo of these two basically has given a lot of success to the Iranian regime, which is known to be very sophisticated. They were able to get almost everything from us, and they're not delivering. And that statement that we're not going to be talking with the U.S. is an invitation to Washington to make more concessions.
Walid, thank you so much. So glad to have you with us. Walid Phares joining us there, Middle East expert.